welcome to Real Film Snobs. I'm Brian Michael.
And I'm Angela Yeager. This week we have a special episode as part of our Around the World series. A few months ago you saw Around the World from Japan, and now we are in Italy. Around the World, where we look at 5 Italian films that we haven't reviewed on the show before. And our first one this week is Paisan from 1946, directed by Roberto Rossellini. And this movie is divided into 6 episodes, so it's really like 6 mini films. And all the films are set during World War II, during the liberation of Italy, which happened from approximately 1943 to 1945. So there's, like as I mentioned, there's 6 different episodes, and Rossellini used actors and non-actors alike. And I think it would be great to talk about this film again, or others like it, down the road. We were talking about doing an episode someday about use of non-professionals or non-actors in movies. You know, The Florida Project, of course, one of my favorite films of 2017, was a movie that used a lot of non-actors. Here we see a lot of non-actors used to not so always so stellar results. Out of the episodes, my favorite of all 6, I'll just get into that one, because the one I really remembered, because we watched this a while ago, was the 5th episode with the monks and the 3 Americans.
Yes.
That was my favorite.
Yeah.
It just really stuck out that they come in to this monastery during the war, and they're seeking refuge, and they're very welcome to them at the beginning until they find out that only one of them is Catholic. The other 2, one is a Protestant and the other one's a Jew. And it causes all this sort of it's not like huge tension. It's not like there's fighting or anything,
no.
but it creates a dilemma for the monks as to what to do with these 3 men. And I really like that. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, before that, I found out that they all sit down and they break bread and they kind of see how things are done around and getting a nice tour of the place, and it's beautifully shot. This is the movie is black and white. It's absolutely amazing. Gosh, I didn't write down the cinematographer's name, but a beautiful looking film. And that one I almost forgot about that one. I was trying to think of what the other stories were because it's been so long since we've seen this. But yeah, that one I really enjoyed, especially where the discovery is made that no, it's okay. It's okay, sure. But there's the fact they've brought them in, these other chaplains of the army, to come in and sit down with them and break bread is really nice. I like the opening one, where there's a young girl and an American soldier up in a tower, a lighthouse together that they kind of having to watch over. And there's a language barrier between the two. And he's trying to talk to her, she's trying to talk to him. We see that there's enemy soldiers approaching. They're trying to help each other out, trying to talk. And it ends tragically, but it's, it really kind of puts you there, because not everyone that, the American soldiers, especially when going over there into a foreign country, don't speak the language. So he only knew a few words, if I remember correctly, and she didn't know English. So that's a tough situation to be in. But it really puts you right there. You really feel the tension. You feel the enemy coming and approaching, and shots fired.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a really interesting film. It's considered a masterpiece of Italian neorealism, which we'll talk about more because quite a few of these films fit into that category, not all of them. But neorealism was a really specific kind of period in Italian cinema right after World War II that just produced a lot of great films. This movie actually came after Rome Open City, and some people consider this Rossellini's masterpiece. I actually liked Rome Open City better overall because I liked the cohesive story from start to finish, and Rome Open City had a lot more tension to it, I thought, but this is still a very good movie, and this is Scorsese's favorite film by Rossellini, apparently. So if you're a Martin Scorsese fan, certainly check this one out.
I think this one is better. I think this is probably the best one that I've
better,
seen.
Rome Open City?
Yeah, it was beautiful. They cut them up into the 6 parts. They go by city. It was Sicily, Naples, Rome, Florence, the monastery, of course, then Porto Italy. But excuse my Italian there. But I think that's just I like the different stories. It's just kind of showing the different situations that happen there. We have the one where the battalion's attacked, and we kind of see them come in and have some allies that they're talking to, and then they're under attack, and we kind of see people are falling, and some are not giving up, and it's really, I just like the fact that it really kind of puts you right there in that situation, especially at a time where war was still pretty fresh. It was 1946, so you didn't really have to build any ruined sets. They're all already there.
Right. Well, and I think that's what, to me, Rome Open City was actually filmed during the liberation of Italy. So it was very tension filled. And it's about, these people, and some of them are, maybe spies. And the story was just so much more tension filled because there seemed like so much at stake. And so, but this one's certainly also very good. So, and Rossellini has a ton of films I haven't seen. So I need to check them out and see which other ones are highly ranked. So, okay, so we'll move on to our next film, which is Shoeshine from 1946 by Vittorio de Sica, a filmmaker. We've seen a few other of his films, and we'll talk about. This one follows two shoeshine boys on the streets of Italy who get into trouble with the police and end up and here's what's interesting, the description you'll see everywhere online is a juvenile detention center, but it is really prison. They end up in prison, despite being very young boys. I mean, there is,
It's a prison for young men, but it's not.
It's like prison. It's not
pretty bad.
because I think almost
Situation's pretty
our
horrible.
feeling or our thoughts of the word detention center gives to mind something very different from what you see in this film. It is considered one of the very first neo-realistic films ever made. It was made several years before De Sica went on to make one of the great masterpieces of Italian real realism, Bicycle Thieves. So that came after this one. And it's amazing. The two boys are very good. It has, in a way, sort of that feeling of Bicycle Thieves. It's sentimental. It's a tearjerker at times. It uses children, and kind of their situation in the post-war Italy and the poverty to great effect. These are boys who are out on the streets working at a very young age, who have no hope in a way, no future, and they have this horse that they love, that they've been raising money for, and that's what kind of gets them in trouble with the police. Much to sort of not quite their fault. And even if they did steal a little bit of money for the horse, the punishment they get, which is sort of this like
Ridiculous.
horrible prison sentence in this place where, they're literally put into cells with other boys and made to do, and it looks like a prison. I mean, there's just no other way around it. And there's no trial. There's no seeming time that they might ever get out. You never kind of hear, oh, this is just for a couple months even. It seems like it's never going to end. So it's quite harrowing.
It does have a very dire effect that when they're put into this prison, it's pretty sad, and it's always interesting to me that a lot of times when you see these foreign films dealing with children, it doesn't do it with any gloss. Something like the Florida Project that we saw this year from 2017, which is an amazing film, but you can see it from a child's perspective, and just in terms of sometimes the real world kind of escapes them because they've got their imagination and their playings. These movies, especially the European ones we see, are pretty harsh, and the kids kind of grow up fast, and they kind of have a better, kind of an idea of what's kind of going on, and it's sad. It really is. They didn't have a childhood of any, so to speak. There's a great escape scene in this movie that had me on the edge of my seat. You really cared about a lot of these characters. Even the not so nice kids, you still can kind of see where they're coming from there and their situations. Again, they're just children. And but that escape scene to me was it's so well kind of plotted out, and you know exactly what's supposed to happen. Things don't quite go right, and so you're really kind of rooting for the kids to run. And this one has the ending that, who was it, the critic that cried? Was it Pauline Kael cried? Pauline Kael actually cried.
Yeah, this is one of her favorite films of all time. She saw it, at a young age, and it really touched her emotionally. She thought it just, really works, and I could see why, especially if you saw this at a young age. It actually got a special award at the Academy Awards that year, and it ended up being what ended up causing them to create the Best Foreign Language Film Award, because I didn't have one at the Academy up until then, and they wanted to recognize this film because they thought it was so excellent. So they created like a special honorable mention type award for it, and then from then on they had the Foreign Language Film Award. But I definitely, out of the 5 we're going to talk about here for this episode, this is my favorite that we saw.
Yeah, I think this one is my favorite as well. But with De Sica there, he also had made, like you mentioned, Bicycle Thieves, which is a huge classic. But Umberto D is the one that
is that the one with the dog?
Yes, is the man with the dog, and I saw that at the same time as I had seen. Oh no! I'm gonna forget the Kurosawa movie. How could I forget the Kurosawa movie? Ikiru. Around the same time, Akira. Excuse me. Around the same time, and it deals with all these old men and having the time had passed and what they're doing with their lives, and it's absolutely beautiful.
The Man and His Dog movie, another tearjerker.
But it's never over the top. It never has these grand gestures. It just kind of is a matter of fact, and you just get to see these simple wonderful moments. Though Shoeshine doesn't have those as much, but you really love to learn to love these kids and them trying to help out with one another, or the ones that are feuding over whatever it was.
Well, the two main boys, they're really good friends, and their friendship is tested, and I think it shows a lot how the circumstances they're put in are pretty hard for any person to deal with, much less
kids
children.
holding their word. They're gonna hold their word.
Yeah, very street smart kids, that's for sure.
So next we have 1954's, directed by Luchnino Visconti, this is Senso. This deals with an Italian countess who betrays her country and everyone in order to be in a self-destructive love affair. Pretty much it. This one stars Alida Valli, as well as Farley Granger, who'd seen before here and there, but the original cast was supposed to be Marlon Brando and Ingrid Bergman, and boy, I couldn't help but think about that through the entire movie, going,
I almost wish we hadn't looked up that before.
I know, it's just like, gosh, that's
especially
very, very
Brando.
interesting.
I kept even, because she's quite good, but anyway, I'll let you go ahead.
So there, there's obviously the conflict there, and she falls in love with him, and she's supposed to be helping the revolutionaries. She uses that money instead to help him so he can get out of the war, and then once the war things kind of fall apart, she goes off to look for him, and then when she finds him, then his things have changed for him, which this is the part that I had the most problem with, because I really thought that there was kind of a love affair there, and I guess I fell for his.
You fell for it more than I do, because I always thought he was kind of.
There was one little thing where
on.
I kind of tipped a hat where he may not be up to snuff there, but
yeah, I kind of thought he wasn't.
Yeah, they kind of bummed me out. And so then all of a sudden it was just the turn. Otherwise, I was really enjoying it because I really liked her story. I liked what was going on. I liked when they were hiding things out, and then there was a fire. People are going to be going up into the tower to look at the fire. He's
there's a lot going on in this
around.
movie. You won't get
the
bored.
maids, the maids helping him out. Here
people are running around.
I really enjoyed that. There's some beautiful costumes, especially with the soldiers who are wearing capes and sword and white pants. I'm like, white pants for soldiers? Only in Italy. Or only in Europe, people. What are we doing there?
And giant white cape. No one will see me. I'm wearing a giant white cape running through this field.
It's bulletproof.
Yes.
It's Dracula. But it just didn't. That turn in the movie all of a sudden kind of caught me off guard. His big, huge, long speech at the end kind of, I didn't feel any sympathy for him. I felt kind of bad for her.
Into a real villain. Yeah.
But then, things turned for him, and it just all kind of seemed like the first half
sewn together in a way.
Well, it just felt like the first half was really long, and then just the ending there felt like 10 minutes or 20 minutes just tacked on. It just felt like it just kind of happened kind of quick.
So you can't recommend it, or?
I can. I mean, I can give it 3 stars. I love the look of it. Like I said, I loved the first half of it, but it just was, all of a sudden this resolution just kind of came quick and just was kind of shocking.
Yeah, and I think she, Alida Valli, who plays Livia, the main character, she's very good. She was in more than 100 films during her career, including The Third Man. So not too shabby. Suspiria, there was a huge list. If you look on IMDb, just look her up. She was in like everything. She's very good. She suits the role. She seems like an Italian countess, but she's also got a very like sensual aspect to her where you can see, she's married to kind of this old, boring, gruff guy that you could just tell she doesn't really care for. We don't know why she's married to him. Maybe for his money. Maybe she liked him when they first got married. Who knows? But for whatever reason, she falls in love with this dashing Austrian, army or military lieutenant, but then it's Farley Granger playing him, and the problem with that is he is just not, he's an actor in America, was in Strangers in a Train and Rope, and he was used well in those Hitchcock movies, but he doesn't have like that dashing count type of thing. So he
doesn't seem like the kind of guy that you would risk everything for.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that
it just didn't. That part didn't click for me. I just didn't buy him as this dashing count that you'd walk in and go, oh, he's not like a Clark Gable or something. If they're going to bring in an American movie star, bring in one of these guys that's just magnetic and not someone who's essentially almost basically a character actor more. So I don't know. It just, to me, that part of it didn't work, and it kind of has to work because it is a love story. It is a romance. So I can barely recommend it. Especially it's a historical melodrama, and it's kind of genre they don't make anymore. Sometimes you kind of miss them. I mean, Visconti made quite a few of these types of movies. The Leopard being one of his best. And you just don't see those kind of movies anymore. The lavish costume dramas with a high melodrama and the woman fighting for her love, and it's fun to see. So. But unfortunately, this one just not well. I couldn't help it. I kept thinking, boy, it would be nice if Brando was in this movie. Even if they didn't get Ingrid Bergman, even if it had been her and Brando, I think it could have worked. Because she's quite I don't know. She's attractive and she's a good actress. I think she worked. I'm of course
Well, you
Ingrid
said
Bergman.
Clark Gable, and now I'm like, I'm going to watch Clark Gable now. That'd been great.
Well, I was just
I'd been a
thinking
little
of a
past his
dashing.
prime, but it'd been, I could see, yeah.
But I was thinking of a dashing American guy who could come in and command a scene.
Even at the end
you know?
where he has his big emotional scene with her and is throwing her out of the house, it just doesn't. Yeah, it just didn't. It didn't rip my heart out. I didn't feel like it was really hurting because I just didn't feel like the relationship was. Just felt like that kind of out of nowhere there. I don't understand how that kind of came out. So, a little disappointing there. So then we'll move on to 1962, still here in Italy. The L'Eclisse, which is the eclipse, directed by Michelangelo Antonioni. And, you know, I always remember his films because I saw La Ventura young in my film snob days and watched it on a big screen over at my friend Scott's house and put this in. And it was about, you know, this woman who's lost and these friends are looking for them. And you watch the movie. It may have been a video cassette. I don't remember. And the movie just is them wandering around and talking. I'm like, hey, what happened to Debbie? Why are you looking for your friend? And it was just one of those movies you're like, oh, no, the plot is just kind of a hanger. And then...
No,
they're just
that's
gonna go
not.
around,
His movies
talk.
are not about plot.
So then when this one happens, when a young woman meets a very materialistic man for a doomed relationship, it sounds like the previous movie. That's pretty much what happens here, kind of, sort of. She has a relationship, she kind of bumps into this guy, and then it's kind of, they'd kind of do a salsa. I want you, I don't want you, I want you, I don't want you. And it kind of goes back and forth, and you're never really sure. Now, Angela over here, as we watched the movie, she was like, the tension's killing me. What are these people gonna touch? And they were pretty. I was really enjoying the look of the film. I enjoyed the lines. I enjoyed the acting and stuff, but I never really felt the tension between the two because it was like, I don't like this dude. And he wasn't right for her, and she was kind of boring a little bit to me. So in terms of their relationship, I just never felt the chemistry between the two. It wasn't like the Dolce Vita. It wasn't like a Fellini film where, you know, no one really grabs anybody and tells them how much they love them.
Antonioni is a acquired taste. I mean, he, you know, in my film classes, some of the students were just like, "What is going on?" You know, these are in a way sort of like the anti-Italian filmmaker, in that, you know, you associate stereotypical Italian films with, you know, hot-blooded, you know, passion, sort of like Senso, you know, these types of things.
Yeah.
And Antonioni is very about cold and meticulous, and his films are beautifully shot and well made, and the shots, every shot composition is just
they're amazing.
through this work.
Absolutely beautiful.
And, you know, it's all, someone said one of the greatest films ever made on existential dismay. So if that gives you an idea of what this movie is like, a lot of characters stand staring off, and, you know, they're beautiful and rich, but they're really unhappy. But I enjoyed it. So Monica Vitti is, you know, she just does that so well. She just does that staring off and looking unhappy thing so well. And Ellen Delon, who is a very charming French actor in this, and very, very easy on the eyes, I did feel like they had some sexual tension, and that's unusual for his films. And I liked the way they built that up, and how the first time they kiss, it's between glass, and there's just this kind of playfulness. It's playful for Antonioni, shall we say? Because he doesn't usually do a lot of playful, you know. But the reviews for this were very mixed. Some people say it's one of the greatest films ever made. Another reviewer who you might agree with more said it was beautifully made and boring as hell. So, you know, his real films tend to get there.
No, I mean, you have to just be in a different mindset. You kind of sit and watch this film, and it just kind of washes over you. You just kind of have to watch. You don't necessarily have to think, I should send this to my sister. And, you know, they just kind of do as they do. And there's, like I said, the composition of it and the black and white is absolutely gorgeous. They're both very pretty people, obviously, but it's not what you're going to be looking for. It's not what I was, you know, hoping would happen. There wouldn't be any type of embrace. There wasn't anything like that.
No.
I mean, even the
I told you up front that wasn't going to happen.
Oh, I know, but
though.
even
I said,
the kiss that you talk about that they have is there is a piece of glass between them. There's no touching. There's no connection in this whatsoever. At one point in time, I think there was a little bit, but then, you know, the phone rang, or
they interrupted.
Something interrupted.
But it's
them.
capitalism
Daylight
is
broke.
Destroying human connection.
That's exactly what it was saying.
I mean, his character is a stockbroker. For Antonioni, this movie's pretty obvious. I mean, some of his films are super out there. So to me, I was like, oh, he's a stockbroker.
Yeah.
You know, he's so consumed with money. He's constantly
Her mother
getting the
was
phone.
as well. Her mother had no
her
interest in her whatsoever, other than her numbers and how she did that day. This is what was going on. I'll buy you lunch.
So I can recommend it, but only for film snobs and then photography people, just to watch, because the photography
people will love
gorgeous,
this movie.
gorgeous.
Absolutely.
And it's considered a trilogy. This is the third.
Yeah.
A trilogy of, I don't know, existential dismay, I suppose. La Ventura, 1960, La Notte, 1961, and then this one in 62.
But, with him, you've also, we were talking about Blow Up, The Passenger, La Ventura. I mean, it's an amazing film career there. So
Have you ever seen, I have to loan you my copy of his film, Zabriskie Point, which is a horrible movie. It's a horrible movie, which I own.
How bad is it?
Very bad, but it has one great scene, and I'll have to show it to you sometime. It's a bad movie with one 5-star scene. So we'll talk about that off. So our last film for our Around the World Through Italy is another Vittorio de Sica film, but way different than the other one we reviewed, which was Shoeshine earlier. This one is Marriage Italian Style, 1964, where de Sica says, hey, I don't need to just do this dry Italian neorealism, realistic stuff. I can do some fun stuff, and he does a romantic comedy. And this documents the on and off again love affair over quite a few decades between a successful businessman, played by Marcello Mastroianni, and a beautiful prostitute, played by Sophia Loren.
She plays a prostitute? What? An actress playing a prostitute? That's
crazy.
Was she nominated for this role?
Yeah. And Marcello Mastroianni had previously made it. And so I got confused because there's also Divorce Italian Style, which I thought was after marriage. Because, seeming that would be marriage and then divorce. But it's actually before. Divorce Italian Style, which is a different director and does not have Sophia Loren, but it does have Marcello Mastroianni, was 61. And Vittorio de Sica did this one in 64. And they're totally different stories. It's just a coincidence.
That's Italian.
I had to look that up because I knew there was a movie called Divorce Italian Style, and it was really driving me crazy. And I thought, I don't remember Vittorio de Sica doing that one, and he didn't. So, of course, you have the two of the most beautiful actors to ever come out of Italy, Marcello Mastroianni and Sophia Loren, who were in quite a few other movies together throughout their career. But, this is sort of them in their prime, 64, looking gorgeous and tan and just like...
Tan.
Yeah,
really
tan, but like they just look like bronze gods of the cinema. It's a comedy and a melodrama, I would say, both. Her character. So he kind of strings her along for decades, and then the plot is that we kind of start the movie at the end and then go backwards, and so we find out that he has basically sort of decided after all these years where he just refused to marry her, he's found this younger woman. Now he's going to get married, and she decides to step in and take some action and say no. And so she does a bunch of hijinks.
Death.
Yeah,
Not death, sickness.
Sickness, yeah. But she does some hijinks. Let's just say that. We won't spoil the plot for everyone. And she, to try to get him back, or at least destroy him, if nothing else. So,
and I enjoyed all of those things, but there's also another subplot with her children that was heartbreaking and beautiful and really amazing, and I really loved that. And I didn't mind it was kind of sandwiched in here. I could have seen a movie on just that story in itself, because I thought that was just incredible. Sophia Loren is just absolutely wonderful in this, especially the opening scene where she's like, "Ha ha! I feel better now."
Yeah, that's one of the great scenes where he's on the phone to tell his soon-to-be wife, like, "Oh, she's really sick. I'll be there as soon as I can." And she leaps out of bed and says, "The Holy Mother, something about has granted me well," and she just all of a sudden has every life imaginable in her, and so.
They have a scene. They've kind of met once before at her work. And then he sees her on a bus, and of course she wants out of the bus, and of course men are more than happy to grab a hold of her and help her out of the window and carry her down. Who would want to have that as a legacy? And then they go off and try to find some shelter once the rain starts, and they have problems with the car, and then they find a little shack that they shack up into. And it's just filled with nice little scenes like that, and that I really enjoyed, kind of the before and even the fighting after. And he is kind of he's a terrible person to keep stringing her along, but it's Italy. I guess that's what they do. And
we don't want to stereotype.
Sure. But I
that's
really
what Marcello
enjoyed that.
Mastroianni does, I think. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's a masterpiece. It's considered a masterpiece of Italian comedy.
It's really good.
You do?
Yeah,
you think it's
yeah.
that good? I don't know. I had a hard time with it, but some of it's a little dated, not in a good way. So
What are you gonna do?
Well, you could make it not dated.
Let's re-edit his movies because we thought that.
No, not
because feminism has come so far. We're just going to cut your movie.
No, I wouldn't go that far. But I kept having to remind myself as I was watching, this is the director to Shoeshine and Bicycle Thieves and Umberto D. And stylistically, I was just I couldn't figure it out. I just couldn't believe it's the same director.
Well, I mean, it's a comedy. That's
Yeah,
it's
in
to
color,
go
so
from
that
there.
was also shocking. But
Which I liked. I
so
actually
would
kinda
you?
liked
Okay,
that.
so out of the 5 films to wrap up, which one?
Oh
What are your
dear.
favorites from top to bottom? Favorites down to
ay,
least
ay, ay.
favorite.
Well, let's see. Senso would be my least favorite,
Okay.
and the Eclipse would be. I did enjoy it. I didn't love it, but I certainly respect it. But I would say that, gosh, if I were to watch one again, I think I would show Shoeshine to somebody, and then Paisan would be that, and then a marriage Italian style would be the way I would go there. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But
So all enjoyable. We didn't hate any of them, I
No.
don't think, but I think Senso was the weakest.
yeah, we
of the
stuck to
5.
the 50s and the 60s. Oh no, we had 40s, 50s, and 60s. Oh, we spanned 3 decades. So I mean, hey, what more can you ask for right there? And if I were to ask Angela her favorite Italian film in the 70s, no, I'm not going to do that. She's like, oh,
Of
wait,
the
what's that?
70s? Oh, you know
I'm
me
like,
and dates.
Wait, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know. But yeah, there's some amazing
When did
filmmakers
The Good, the
there.
Bad, and the Ugly come out? They came out in the 60s.
Well,
Yeah.
and here was released here. Anyway, it's different. Yeah, but we mentioned some great filmmakers, some other films to certainly to check out and expand your horizons.
Movie. Yeah, and of course, there's
Yeah.
a lot of great Italian filmmakers. We haven't covered, maybe we will the next time we go
Yep.
around the world and go to Italy, but we will be going around the world to a different country next time we do one of these episodes. We're just going to keep moving through
England's
all the countries.
next.
England's next.
Another foreign country.
Yes. We
Another
didn't
foreign
say we did
language.
not say foreign language. We're going around the world. Anything outside America,
Yeah.
including Canada. So who knows? We might be in Canada. Is
Oh.
fair game.
Huh.
Mexico, Spain. It does. Any place. So any place that isn't our old
Canada,
USA.
Mexico would be interesting.
Yeah, no, I do. I think there's a lot of great films. Okay, I got my cards all askew. Okay, so to wrap up, thank you to my wonderful co-host Brian
Aw.
for being so charming and witty as always.
Oh, we have time. Is that what
Yes,
this means?
okay, sorry.
We're burning time.
No, I mean it. And Happy New Year to everyone. And I would like to thank, as always, our wonderful crew and our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you. As always, you can watch us on our website at realfilmsnobs.com. You can also watch us on Corvallis Access Media and Scan TV in Silverton, of course, here on CCTV. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us on KMUZ. You can follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. As always, have a great day and great movies.